Buenos dias.
Good morning.
Could you hear that? That's it. Sure. Our cultures are very, very, very different. But I can tell you a story. Many decades ago, I tried to become a part of the Spanish culture. This will kind of tell you I'm chronologically gifted. In 1958, as a Year 9 student, I took Spanish 1. In 1959, as a Year 2 student, a Year 10 student, I took Spanish 2. I know 5 Spanish words. I'm not going to say I was distracted by the very beautiful Cuban Spanish teacher I had for 2 years. She was gorgeous. But there I am, not of your culture. What I have done in my lifetime is spent my life in school. I started when I was 6. I'm 72. I've been going to school for 66 years now. It doesn't appear they'll ever leave me out and let me go or graduate me. For the past 15 years, an Australian, Dr. John Edwards, who happens to be a member of the ICOP Planning Committee, he and I have traveled 20 countries in the world observing schools in 20 different countries. As we've traveled and observed schools, we've learned a lot about them. And this coming January, February, Core and Press is going to publish a book about all that John and I have learned about schools and observing them over that time. The book's called Schools That Deliver. Schools That Deliver. And here's what we mean about delivery. Delivery is a whole school community coming together and nailing something powerful together. Absolutely nailing something powerful. Something of beauty. Something that they want for their children, their community. Delivery means absolutely nailing it. What we've discovered as we've traveled the world, there's one disease that prevents schools from truly delivering. I call it initiative fatigue. People who live and work in schools are tired of initiatives that come from the state government, the national government, the local community, one initiative after another, so that no one has time to do anything with great quality, absolutely nailing something, and say, this is it. This is what we've done for our children. You're going to learn a lot more from each other today than you're going to learn from me. I'm just presenting information. The real learning goes on when you construct learning on your own. So throughout this hour, I'm going to use a device we call perception checks. That's where I'm going to have you talk to one another. We're going to do the first one now. I would like you to talk to one another about what evidence do you see in the school closest to you that it delivers or doesn't deliver. Have a chat about that for a few minutes. I'll put my hand up when I want your attention again. Have a chat. Thank you. In our hour together this morning, I'd like to introduce you to one leadership disposition and two models that we have developed from watching schools that deliver, that help explain what happens in them. These models are some adaptations from some other people, but what we've done is taken everyone's knowledge about these ideas and created some models that are used in schools to depict why they deliver or why they do not. The first model is from an American, Tuckman's his name, and back in the 1960s, he studied how groups of people work together. We've taken Tuckman's model and adapted it so that it makes sense to explain what happens in schools as they start to try to do something new. They go through a life cycle. The first stage of the life cycle of a healthy school is the forming stage. And behind me are the behaviors you see when a school forms up and decides they're going to do something together. It feels good. This is a good time in a school. And there are many teachers out in the world who you represent today who are really, really worried that you're going to bring something new back. Another new initiative to start. Maybe we'll do habits of mind. Maybe we'll do growth mindsets. Maybe we'll do this. Maybe we'll do that. They won't like to see you come home, you know. But the forming stage is a lot of fun. Everybody enjoys that. There's some excitement. We're going to start to do something new. Wow, let's get after it. That's the first stage of life of a healthy school, and it flows very, very well. You create a picture of what you want to do with this new idea, this new initiative. Then that takes you to the second stage, and remember what I'm saying, the second stage of life of a healthy school, the storming stage. Look what happens in the storming stage in the life of a healthy school. Egos show up. Factions. People arguing and fighting with one another. Power and politics show up. The powerful win. Less powerful lose. The political power wins. The less political lose. This is what happens in the storm. These are the behaviors of the storm. Later on in the storm, you see some better things show up. But remember, this is the second stage in the life of a healthy school, and this is the crux we see in schools that don't deliver. You see, it's easy to form up around something. Let's do it. That's fun. Let's get started. And you go straight into the storm after that. Straight into the storm. And all these behaviors show up. All these negative and bad behaviors show up. And you know what? We don't like it. It doesn't feel good anymore. We're not getting along with one another. We can't keep doing this. It doesn't feel good. So the school stops. They stop in the middle of the storm. And they go back to another conference and find something else new to do again. Because that feels better. That feels a lot better. So they form up around it. Takes them right back into the storm. There you are. The bad behaviors show up again. We don't feel good. Let's stop this. We got to feel better. Send the principal to another conference. Find something new to do. we feel better. Takes us back into the storm. What we don't understand in schools that don't deliver is the storm is good and these behaviors must happen and you must love them for a while. You must love these bad behaviors. You must look at each other and say, that's the best fight I saw all week. Congratulations, we need that now. In my schools, during the storm, I used to give Ego of the Month awards. You had the best ego all month. We need that right now. Great. I'd also give awards for the best politician of the month, because I would say, these behaviors must happen. We must love these behaviors. We must get through the storm. I can't tell you the number of schools John and I have gone into in 20 countries who tell us this is the pattern of their life. All we do is form and storm. Form and storm, form and storm, form and storm. That's all we do. We never get any further. Because you see, you have to go through the storm to get the norming. This is the beginning of the foundation for delivery. Getting to the norming stage, but you have to go through the storm to get there. These are the behaviors you see in the norming stage. You begin to recognize how you're going to have to systematically change, and more important than anything, you begin to see these new mental models that emerge. I want to be clear about what a mental model is. They are the values and beliefs that drive our behavior. I can't do anything in front of you today without driving my behavior off my values and beliefs. Our values and beliefs control everything we do all day long. They drive our behavior. My values and beliefs are driving my behavior in front of you. And the key to change in any school is simple. If you go back to your school tomorrow and you take your same mental models in that drive your behavior today, you take those same mental models back into your school tomorrow, the school will stay the same. Nothing will change. The only way you can move a school forward is to have every adult in the school change their values and beliefs and their behavior. When your mental models and behavior change, the school changes for the better. And it's the norming stage where you start to discover these are the mental models we are going to need to learn to live together to make the changes we want, to deliver what we really want. It's the norming stage. And the delivery stage is the last one, the performing stage. This is the eureka moment for schools, when you get to the performing stage. Before I started my own business and traveled the world going in and observing schools, I worked in the American school system for 36 years. 36 years of my life in the American system. 16 as a teacher, 14 as a principal. I've done that upright. 16 and 20. 20 as a principal. In my 36 years, I only spent 7 years delivering. 7 years. 14 years as a teacher was forming and storming. When I became a principal, I realized we'd have to go through forming and storming to get to norming and performing. 2 different schools twice. I felt this delicious delivery. This delicious delivery moment. 7 years. That's almost a wasted career to me. You deserve much longer in the performing stage, in the delivery stage than I spent. Talk to each other again for a few minutes. When you look at the 4 stages of the life cycle, Where have you spent most of your career? Which stage have you spent most of your career in? Have a chat about that. Thank you. We all have the capacity to be a leader. Leadership is a choice to me. It's a choice we make every day. We choose to lead. For example, in my day and in my world, I'm a leader of myself. I have to choose to lead myself. I'm one of the co-leaders of a family. We have to lead our family. As a school principal, I had to lead a school community. there's all kinds of opportunities for leadership, and we all have the capacity to lead, and we choose to do that or not. It's a choice we have. And one of the key aspects of leadership are to work with those mental models I was talking about, those values and beliefs we all have. For example, my wife wants me to live longer, so she's worried about my weight. She's worried about what I eat and drink. She's worried about my mental models of physical health, my values and beliefs. Well, if I was a good leader of myself today, after the conference is over, I'd go for a long walk along the river instead of going to the pub like I'll probably do. We make choices about leadership and what we're going to lead. And the most important thing about leadership is to lead the development of new mental models that allow you to live the life you want to live, or have the school become what it wants to become. It's the mental model work that is the chief work of a leader. Our job as leaders is to shift our mental models. My wife can't make me change my mental models. I have to choose to do that. You go into a school and you say, we're going to do habits of the mind next. That will cause the whole staff of teachers to have to change their behavior as they work with children. They will have to change their mental models. And you know what? Like me and my health mental models, some of them are very resistant to change. We don't easily change our mental models, our values and beliefs, because we've come by them by living our life. And we don't change those mental models easily. That's why this is the essence of leadership work. Mental model transformation of people. Because that is such an important facet of leadership, it means that as a leader, you need to have a leadership disposition. Because as soon as you choose to lead, you get a friend that jumps up on your shoulder and looks you in the ear and says, hey, I'm your friend for life. I'm your friend for life. Anytime you choose to lead, I'm with you. So let's go. Where are you going to lead me? This friend's name is resistance. Resistance. I'll never forget the first time I went into a school as a principal. Brand new principal, and I thought I had all the power. It's going to be easy life now. I'm just going to go in and tell the teachers what to do, and they're going to do it. I issued my first mandate to my staff. Do this. Nobody did it. Nobody did it. That went on for a long time. And I said, better figure out something else to do. And what I was discovering was, anytime you lead change, you're talking about changing values and beliefs, you're talking about changing behaviors, resistance comes up on your shoulder, and it becomes your friend. The difference between schools that don't deliver and schools that deliver is this. In schools that don't deliver, they don't consider resistance their friend. They don't like resistance. So they ignore it or run away from it. If you ignore and run away from resistance, it'll kill you. You can never ignore a resistor. You must make resistance your friend. I have 2 knee replacements. When I see a resistor, I have to run to them as quickly as my new knees get me there. You've got to get the resistors fast. That's what you see in schools that deliver. They move and make resistance a friend. Schools that don't deliver, oh, I'm afraid of resistance. I want to get away. I don't want to talk to that resistor. You need to make them your friends. You need to run to them as fast as you can. There you are, standing in front of a resistor. What do? Two things you never do. This never works. Don't argue. Don't try to coerce them or tell them what to do. That never works with a resistor. You try to coerce or argue with them, all you're going to do is get tired. And they'll get tired as well. So what do? You listen, and you ask the resistor questions. You question them. We decided we're going to do this. Why aren't you on board? Help me understand why you're not coming along on this journey with us. Question them, question them, question them. Try to understand them. What you'll find out as you're questioning them, 50% of the people who resist something resist because they don't have the right information or the right communication. Then it's easy. Give them the right information, give them the right communication, and they come on board. That only leaves the other 50%. What do you do with them? You just keep listening. At the end of the conversation, you thank them for their time. You tell them, well, I'm going to do this with commitment and passion. I invite you to do the same thing, and you go away. And the next day, you go back to them. How's your level of resistance today? Are you on board now? No? Well, let's talk. Question, question, question. Listen, listen, listen. As you do that, you'll find a place of agreement. And that's what you hook into to move forward. But you question, 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 listen, 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 thank them, and you go away. And as soon as you can, go back to them again. Are you still resisting? How are you feeling today? Question, question, question. Go away and come back. Resistors are good people. They resist for good reasons. This is the 19th new initiative we've started in this school, and we've finished none of them. Why should I get involved in this again? They have history on their side. Resistors resist for a lot of good reasons. And you need to make them your friend by moving to them continually, continually, continually. So that at some point in time, you'll find an area of common agreement where they can move forward and come on board with whatever you're trying to accomplish in the school. Up to a couple years ago, I used to go on an annual golf outing with 36 friends. And one night when we were sitting around the lodge looking at one another, I said, oh, good grief. 20 of the 36 people who come on this golf outing used to be resistors. Now they've become my best friends. I said, why did we become friends? One guy said, well, the 14th time you came down my hallway to question me, I said, I give up, I'm on board. But everyone else would say it's because you spent so much time listening and trying to understand me. They truly became friends. Compare this method of dealing with resistance to how you deal with resistance in your current professional life, and have a chat about that for a few minutes. Big. Thank you. During the storming stage, life of a school, there are huge arguments and debates going on. And what those arguments and debates are about, they're the new mental models associated with the new initiative that has to be put in place so that you can become a school that delivers. Huge debate and arguments around mental models, our values and beliefs. I remember the last school I was principal of, when I walked around the school for a week after becoming its principal, I could see what the mental model of teaching and learning was. It's basically what I'm doing to you, the lecture. Somebody standing up in front of 35 kids in a science class or a history class, telling the kids what was important. And the kids were sitting in front of me, in front of the teacher, just like you're sitting, doing nothing. Just trying to listen if they wanted a good grade, or not listen if they didn't want a good grade. Lecture, transmission model, was the mental model of teaching and learning in that school. And the staff, in talking about how to move forward and become a better school, started having conversations about we need to move to social constructivism, where kids develop knowledge for themselves. That was going to be the new teaching and learning life of the school, social constructivism. Well, that caused huge fights, huge debates, because the best lecturers said, I'm not going there. I know everything, kids know nothing. They can't construct stuff for themselves. Huge debates about mental models. That's what causes a storm. Trying to come to an agreement on which mental models do we need to live as a school to move us forward. That's the essence of the beautiful storming stage, and they have to go through it. They have to go through it out the other side. So if these mental models are so important to us as leaders, we better have a mental model tool we use. We better have a tool that we use to change a whole staff's mental models. Talk to one another a minute. What is your tool right now that you use in your school, or your principal uses in your school, to change your behavior, change your mental models? What tool is being used to shift these vital mental models in the place you work? Have a short chat about that. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'd like to share with you the model we have put together for transforming mental models in a school. For a long, long time, this has been my lesson plan to change the school's behavior, to change an adult staff's behavior in a school, to shift the mental model. It's called Butler Model. It's based on the work of John Edwards and his longtime research friend, Jim Butler. And let me explain how this works. To change a mental model, I would design lessons to teach the staff over the course of the year to put a new mental model in place in the school. Here are the parts of the model. Up in the upper left, you see public information, and down in the lower left, you see current practice, and you see at the top is a title, Outside Self. What that means is public information and current practice we can see because all that's outside ourselves. You're getting public information from me. You'll get public information all during this conference. I watched Art this morning give us public information about the habits of mind. You go on internet, Facebook, any place you can find public information today. University courses, you can find public information. The world is dripping with public information. And what we know is just listening to me is not going to change anything for you. Just getting public information from me is not going to make your school different. Public information does nothing. It's important, but it doesn't change anything. You can see my current practice. You can see how I work. You can go into a teacher's classroom and you can watch their current practice. We can see our current practice. It's outside of us. We can see that. Just watching my current practice isn't going to change anything. That won't change anything either. That's outside of us. Public information and current practice. Important, but by themselves will not change anything. They will not change my behavior. They will not. Now we go to the right side of the model. Upper right is these three words, personal practical knowledge. That's the knowledge I have from living 72 years on this planet. It's my lived life. My personal practical knowledge is everything I know from what my life has taught me. And it's inside me. You can't see the life I've lived. I'm sharing glimpses of it with you, but my lived life is inside of me. My personal practical knowledge. And the reason that's so important to change is that's where I learn my values and beliefs and my mental models about things like food, drink, and exercise, and schools. By living the life, I have values and beliefs that have come from that lived life. And in the lower right are those mental models. Those mental models. I have so many mental models that I drive my performance off of. And the thing about it, some work and some don't. Some make me a pretty good human being, some don't. Tell you a story of one that didn't. I grew up in western Pennsylvania in the United States when the steel mills were dying and people were getting laid off. They didn't have jobs. So it's a tough area of the United States. And when you're born into western Pennsylvania, you grow up with a strong work ethic. Work ethic says you do a good day's work, you get a good day's pay. I grew up like that. Go to work, work hard, get a good day's pay. As early as 4 years old, my dad was a house painter. On weekends, instead of playing, I'd go to work with him to paint. I grew up with this big work ethic. That's why I'm still in front of you. I don't have retirement. I do not have a mental model of retirement in my head. I'm going to work until I die. I just hope it's not in the next 15 minutes. So does my wife. But I've had this beautiful work ethic. It's why I am who I am, this work ethic. So I became a school principal. And I decided, I don't know whether my school was going to deliver anything, but we're going to work hard. We're going to be the hardest working school in the United States of America. I don't care if we do anything right, we're going to work hard. I said, well, if we're going to be a good work ethic school, I need to model it. How will I model work ethic? I'll get to work first. Well, my last high school, my physics teacher got to work at 5:55 in the morning. To beat him to work, I had to be at work at 5:45. So there I was, 5:45 in the morning. Physics teacher come into the staff room. I say, Daryl, have a good day. Work hard out there. And I say the same thing to everybody else who came in. Well, not being the brightest cookie in the box, I realized if I did that at the beginning of the day, I'd have to do that at the end of the day. Be the last person they saw when they left. Well, in that big American school, that was about 7 p.m. For 12 years of my life, Bill of the good work ethic, went to work at 5:45 in the morning, got home at 7 o'clock at night. One night, my friend John Edwards asked me, he says, when I'm with you and you go to work, why do you go to work and then come back and pick me up at 9? And then you bring me home and then you go back to work till 7. Why do you do that? I said, John, I have a great work ethic. I believe in modeling work ethic for my staff. He looked at me and said, how's that work for your family? I said, I miss 3 daughters growing up. These mental models that drive our behavior, we can't see them. We can't see them, but they're so important to who we are and what we do every day. And you need, as a leader, to make mental model work. The essence of leadership in anything that you do in a school. Take a couple minutes. What mental models do you live that might be getting you in trouble and you don't know about it right now? Have a chat about that. Thank you for that. Thank you. Our mental models are inside us. People can't see them. Often we can't see them ourselves. The mental models are inside us. And then you see in the middle of the model, reflection. We're pretty clear what we mean by reflection. It's just thinking about everything that's going on and reflecting on what's happened and what we're going to do next. And then generation is generating the ideas regarding what we're going to do next. So I'm at my last high school. It's a school where everybody lectures. That's the mental model. We're just going to talk to kids for 55 minutes at a time and hope they keep it till they pass a test. That was the mental model. We decided we're going to move to the mental model of social constructivism. Kids constructing knowledge for themselves. An entirely different classroom, where the teacher's not talking at all, just facilitating as groups of kids are working together, constructing knowledge for themselves. That was the mental model shift. The one mental model shift we needed to really nail something all together, to move from lecture to social constructivism. That was it. That was it. For the next 3 years, all we did was work at that one thing. Nothing else. Moving from lecture to social constructivism. 3 years. Every time we got together as a staff to collaborate, that's all we worked on. Nothing else. Our collaborative time at staff meetings, all professional development days, all of our time was spent to collaborate the move from lecturing to social constructivism. 3 years. 3 years. This was the model we used. The staff would come together. I'd throw out a little public information on social constructivism. Just in your group, look at this information about social constructivism. After they looked at it, I'd say, all right, compare that to what you do now. Well, what they did was talk to kids. The comparisons were pretty stark. Social constructivism is very different than lecturing. So they would compare the information to current practice. Then I would get to the real, absolutely essential parts of this model. This is where it happens, over here. All right? Get together, talk to each other about what your life has taught you about constructing your own knowledge. What has your life taught you about this? Talk to one another. How has your life taught you about working together, about socially constructing things together? And they would go through years and years of talking about how their lives have taught them how to work together and collaborate and socially construct new knowledge for themselves. And then we take it down to the final quadrant, the mental model quadrant. And we say, all right, now we looked at some information, we've looked at your current practice, we've talked about what your life has taught you. What are your mental models about social constructivism right now? What are your values and beliefs? Well, I don't believe in it. All right, you don't believe in it. We're going to bring our values and beliefs about social constructivism to the surface and talk about them. All right? We've had a good chat about social constructivism and our mental models about them. All our mental models are over the place. But here's the key. Now what you need to do is reflect on all of this, the public information, the current practice, the personal practical knowledge, and mental models. Have a think about everything we just did. Have a think about it by yourself and then together with your group. Have a think about everything that we've just done about social constructivism. Now, you must generate a set of actions you're going to take back into your classroom based on what we've done. What are you going to do back in the classroom to start to move social constructivism forward and move the mental model into your classroom practice? They would design actions then they would take back to the classroom. If they had a month to work on those actions, they would come back and we'd go through the model again, and go through the model again, and go through the model again. For 3 years. 3 years it took us to put one mental model in place to move from lecture to social constructivism so we could nail kids constructing knowledge for themselves. Kids constructing knowledge for themselves. Art and I had breakfast this morning, and I told him the breakfast was like an old Harry Chapin song, All of Life is a Circle. My journey to be here with you started with Art Costa back in 1988 when I had a school that decided to become a Habits of Mind school. They wanted their curriculum to be arts. At that point in time, he had 12 Habits of Mind. He's identified more since then. It took us 5 years to put in place the mental models so teachers could teach the habits of mind. And that's the way they lived, that's the way they behaved. 5 years. You can't change a school by stopping at the storm and going back and find something new, coming in, stopping at the storm, going back and find something new. If you want to deliver, you need to know what you're going to nail, and you need to put everyone's focus, everyone's energy, everyone's time into nailing that one thing. Over 5 years, this is the evidence from that school I'm talking about, how moving one thing, focusing on one thing, transformed the school. Standardized tests that we took. Now, you need to know this is a pretty diverse school. Those are not great scores. They are not great scores, but the thing about them, every year they went up. Every year our standardized test scores got better, and that was the change over a 5-year period. That's what's important in America. Not important to me, important in America. Here are some other academic excellence indicators. Our average daily attendance improved from 89 to 93%. Our dropout rate went down from 9% to 3%. Our enrollment increased from 751 kids to 2,436 kids. Our top scholars in the school went from 3 to 21 after 5 years, and then it impacted behavior dramatically as well and brought us a lot of accolades nationally that you see at the bottom. Ordinary people coming together and saying, we're going to nail one thing, lecture to social constructivism. One thing, and we're going to get it done. A group of ordinary people did extraordinary work in that school for 5 years. I needed leadership disposition of making resistance my friend. I needed to understand we were going to go through a life cycle, and that the storm was the critical stage of life in that life cycle. I had to hold my nerve during the storms, and I had to get everyone else to hold their nerve as well. And then I needed a tool to work on mental models, and the Butler Model was that tool. These are the things we see and observe in schools that deliver. We see them understanding the life cycle and the need to hold their nerve. We see them working with their staff with different tools to transform mental models and put new mental models in place. We see leaders who run the resistance instead of running away with it. Buenas tardes. Thank you for the honor of being with you.